And good evening. We are live with Gators Garage here in Savannah, Georgia, the home of historical gaming in and around Savannah. And we're glad to see you folks. This, of course, is pre-recorded. But if you got any comments that you'd like to put them in the comment section. As always, do the YouTube things if you would. Click the like button, click to subscribe. We are almost at 50 subscribers. And when we get there, then I can actually go live on YouTube.
Yeah,
So share with your friends if there's something you'd like to see us cover concerning bolt action or anything gaming related, just put it down in the comments below. And if it's within our knowledge base, we'll certainly give it a run. I'm here with Randy Yan, a regular winner of tournaments and with bolt action, and also an all around good gamer and game master. And Randy, good to have you with us tonight.
yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks.
So we're going to talk first, of course, what's on everybody's mind, and that's version 3. And just a quick recap provided from our friends over at Reddit. Bring this over here. So if you're not on Reddit, they've got a really good community over there that's worth checking out. Um, your feed on Reddit is not nearly as busy as your feed is on Facebook, and you really can pick and choose exactly what groups and stuff you want to see. And the bolt action group over there on Reddit is just really active. So um, this is from the whoever's adminning over there at Reddit. I want to make sure they get good credit. And so far, what we've covered, they've got a running list. What's been covered as far as pre-release is army composition, uh, medium machine guns, big changes, and what I call making MGs great again.
Yep.
The shooting phase, special rules, and then last week we talked about vehicles. So that brings us up to this week. And of course, this week's topic is um, troop quality and morale. So, Randy, tell us what you think about that.
Yeah, so there's quite a bit in this one this time, and there's a little hidden nugget in this article that we'll get to when we get down farther in the article. But a lot to talk about this time. I think there's a lot of changes coming in here that's really going to affect the game.
Bear with me. I'm
Bringing up
there.
the
It goes. Yeah,
slide.
there you go.
Yep. I better go full screen because I won't be able to see it. Where is the full screen?
Okay.
Boop. There we go.
All right. So again, troop quality and morale. And
Yep.
remember, your watchword here for version 3 is speed of play and speeding up play.
Yeah.
The recommended army list for just a standard game is going to be about 1,250 points. I can tell you at our club, we usually play around 600. So anything that can speed that up is going to definitely be worthwhile. Um, so Randy, what's the first thing that we see here?
Yeah. So everything's pretty much going to stay the same with your morale and experience. You're going to wound on 3+, regulars 4, veterans 5, and then the 8, 9, and 10 for morale rating. That's all going to stay the same, which is good because honestly, I think everything works pretty well the way it was in that respect.
I've actually always felt that the morale levels were a little high, but again, talking about my old alma mater, old squad leader there, it was squad leader was 7, 8, and there were no nines. You did have some units that went up a morale level if they broke. So I've always found the bolt action morale to be a little high for my experience, but it's also a lot easier to put pins on there and get those morale check plus things
Yeah.
going on. So changes around the core. Um, there's going to be a change to one of the 6 orders and an update on new look officer team.
Yeah.
So tell us what you think about that, Randy.
Yeah. So as we'll see down in the officers, a little bit of a change. I don't think there's actually, well, when we get to the slide, we're not going to have first and second lieutenants. I do not believe. I think we're going to have two two type officers. We're going to have platoon commanders and was it division commanders? That's what they call them.
Platoon and company. So
Company,
that's a
yeah,
little further
company.
down. I
Yep,
think the biggest change is and it's actually right here. The
yep,
biggest change is the rally order.
yeah,
If you pass your basic morale check, all your rally pins, all your pins go away.
yeah.
So that's going to be helpful.
I would like to
But
see
as
one I wish they'd have done one thing to this though.
yeah,
Um, is just like in shooting, they only apply one pin to shooting. I think if you're pinned, it should only count one against you when you roll your rally order. Because if you get like five pins, it might be extremely hard to. Well, no, that really won't matter, will it? No.
yeah, it will matter. I think number of pins are present in shooting still. I'd have to go back and pull the article
No.
up.
So if you have one pin or three pins, your shooting is still the same.
Plus one,
Yeah,
plus one to plus three, or just plus one.
just plus one. If you got
Okay,
eight pins, you're still shooting at plus one.
that's a huge change that I don't know that anybody's talked about. Did we talk about
Some
that when we
have.
did our review?
Yeah, some have, and I think Bo mentioned that it's no longer going to be beneficial to try to load pins onto a unit. Once you get like two or three pins, that's it. You don't really want to put any more pins than that on it, and especially with the way
Right.
they're going to make it so easy to rally.
Yep.
If you put five, six pins on them, they're just going to rally it off. Whereas if you
Well,
keep them at two or maybe three, maybe they won't rally.
so the trade-off is if I if I manage to hit you with three different hits during a
Hmm.
turn and take you to three pins, um, you're at plus one to hit. So there's that offset. But then the gut check you got to make is, do I rally these off to get that plus one off, or do I just use
Yeah.
this plus one,
Whereas
this plus one
if you,
modifier and don't care? Now, one thing they did recap is you will still have a unit get eliminated if its number of pins equals its morale level. So your regular troops, which are morale level 8,
yeah,
if you get 8 pins on them, they're toast.
that's going to be
And
pretty rare though,
go ahead.
because really, like you say, there's no benefit to getting really more than two pins, because what you want is you want a pin to make them have to activate, and in a pin that when they pass, they still have a pin shooting. So two pins is where you want to be on a unit.
Think so?
Yeah, anything more is a
Okay.
waste, and they're just going to rally them off. And then, like if you hit them with HE, and say you hit them with a big one, and you get D6 pins, um, they're just going to rally the next turn. They're all going to be gone.
That's true, but they do have to spend that turn rallying off. And on a
Right.
6 turn game, you
Yeah.
take it, that's something I haven't read a lot of the theory on the game. I don't know if anybody talks about it a lot, but, let's walk through this. So,
Yeah.
turn
So.
one, I put a couple, three pins on you,
Mhm.
and you're good in turn two. But then I put three more. And if it's a regular unit, well, now you're up to six. Then
Yeah.
you got to make a decision. Do you take a chance that I'm going to knock that unit out in turn three, or do you take your turn two activation to clear your pins off?
Yeah.
Now I've taken that unit out of the game for a turn, which is not a bad thing. So yeah, that's definitely going to change, as I like to say, going to change the taste of everybody's beer and pretzels a little bit. So that'll be
Yeah.
good. I
Well,
am going to miss that plus the gazillion when you got pile pins on somebody though.
yeah. So they're gonna rally though a lot more often, and you're not gonna see units get pinned out of the game really, because they'll rally way before that gets happens. Yeah, because most people
Yep.
won't spend the extra pins to put three, four, five pins on a unit. They'll put a couple on this unit, a couple on that unit. They'll spread them around a little more so that everybody has two pins.
That's yeah. Speaking as from a tactical standpoint, that's probably going to be the most valuable. Will be to get pins on a bunch of units, and then your opponent's whole force is dealing with that plus one plus two modifier, and then again, he's got to make that decision. If he's got pins and you don't, well, you've got an advantage. So
Yeah,
okay,
see,
that makes sense.
two's kind of ideal though, because what it'll do is it kind of baits them into trying to activate, and so there's a
Right.
chance they can go down and not do anything. They don't get to rally, they don't get to shoot, they don't do nothing. Whereas if they got three or more, it's almost a given that they're going to rally and get back in the next turn.
And we didn't talk about that though. That if you do pile on more pins, as far as I can tell from the from the activation rules here, you're still going to have to make that check plus the number of pins to activate that unit. So
Yeah,
there could be a case to be made to get those 3 or 4 pins because now, if it's a basic unit of morale level 8, well, he's now got to roll a 4 or less to activate that unit. To your point, it's going to force him into that rally step.
yeah,
Now, one thing that, of course, will modify all that is of course the officers here. So
yeah. So you can see the
got two
bonus
levels now.
is much greater now. They've combined the first and second lieutenants. I don't think there's going to be a first and second lieutenant anymore. I think they're going to be
No,
called platoon commander and they're going to be called company commander, and then they
right.
have a price for each one.
And I think I think they did that because maybe most of us took first lieutenants anyway, or
You mean
took
second?
seconds. Not many of
Yeah,
us took first. So
it was kind of everybody just took second lieutenants. Nobody
right,
even brought captains or majors. Period. Very rare you see
yeah,
a first lieutenant.
yeah. Although one of the things that is an advantage of the officer, and we did take advantage of it, is the morale bonus. That +1 or plus now a +2. Going back to the scenario we were just talking about, you can pile a few more pins on the guys, and
Yep.
of course, every time they activate, they're going to pull a pin off. So that's helpful. So in your scenario where you put 2 pins on a guy, big deal. I'm going to activate and I'll pull one off,
Yeah.
and then when I activate the next time, I'll pull the next one off. So, hey, this is going to make, again, these are decisions battlefield commanders are going to have to make.
Well, this
Um,
actually too, with all the different platoons we're going to have now, there's going to be more officers roaming around the board. So there'll
yep.
be more of these morale bonuses going out and helping out units.
So, what do you think from a player's perspective? Is the player, you think players are going to want to make officer teams out of their existing troops, or you think they're going to want to buy some of the new officer sets that are going to be coming out? Kind of an excuse to get some more pretty minis. What do you think?
Well, if you the little farther down here, it talks about no free equipment anymore. So a lot of guys have modeled their officers with submachine guns and assault rifles.
Right.
Now they're going to have to pay for it. And it's like, well, I'm either going to have to pay for it or I'm going to have to remodel it or get a new one to replace them. You're going to see a lot of
That's a
pistols on
great
officers
point.
now.
What's that?
You're going to see a lot of pistols on officers now.
Which is often what you saw.
Yeah,
I know that French officer
they
with the
did not
pistol.
want to be in the fight. They wanted, something to protect them if somebody came up on them real close that they could shoot them. But uh,
Well, I know I like to model my officers with some type of long range weapon. My American officers either have
rifle.
submachine guns or rifles. I prefer
Yeah,
rifles, honestly. So to your point, now those officer teams are going to cost you a bit more.
yeah,
Go ahead and slap those assault rifles on there, but they're going to cost you. The other thing is, and we've talked about this when we talked about the officers before and the changes. The small team bonus is going away. So
yeah.
the single green lieutenant that everybody liked to run, that's going to change. You're going to now want to field more of a command unit with
You
four or
may
five,
want to
six
bring in
guys of their own.
veteran just to keep him
Yes.
alive. Uh,
Yep. Yeah. So, like they said, no, no. So that's the other key phrase, and I saw some guys talking about that on our chat today. No free units.
yeah. So if you read down here, this is a part of a wider philosophy of no free units across the whole of bolt action.
Right.
So the artillery observer, I've already said if I had to pay for it, I would never bring it. It's not worth 100 points for what it does. So it's probably going to go away.
Or
The
the
poor
points will go
Russian,
down.
the poor Russian Army is going to lose that big squad of infantry that he used to get.
Right, but he may find his infantry cheaper too.
Maybe, and then the
Yeah,
French are really going to take a hit because now they don't get that extra. Not that fact, they get a free artillery piece, but they also get to take two because of that being free. So all that's going away.
yep.
So the French are really going to, unless they're going to come out with some new national rules across the board that kind of fill in these gaps. There's some armies that are really going to suffer with these new rules.
Right. Well, and I think what players were generally finding, and as we pushed the limits in tournament play versus list building, was that those free units, like the British, some British lists had free units, some didn't.
Yeah,
And if you weren't familiar with the British Army book and a British player shows up with a free squad, you're like, what the heck? Um, the Russians had their free squad in the basic rule book. And I think everybody, the free forward artillery observer was definitely something that, and that whole rule around British artillery was really, one of many things that needed looking at in second edition. Um, I'll be curious to see what they do with I'm sure the Japanese will still stay fanatic, but yeah,
yeah.
getting rid of free units, I think is going to be huge. And, just they'll have to
Well,
what'll have to happen. So there's two ways to peel that onion. One is they pull down the cost of all the infantry like they're doing some of the tanks. The other is, let's say you're playing the Russians. You know how the Russians had all those units in early war? They had a lot of green troops.
yeah.
So, if you're the
Well,
Russian player, go
I'm
ahead.
hoping they'll drop the cost of the artillery observer and the air observer as well, since they're
Yeah.
going to make them the way they are. And I'm really hoping they're going to fix the air observer so that you don't have, you know, a rookie pilot destroy your own troops. There's got to be some kind of a because
And that
nobody.
was what that was a 1 in 6 chance rookie
Well,
pilot.
and it's not only that. So it's 1 in 6, but what 2 and 3 it's delayed. So there's a percentage of 50% chance that it's not coming in. And then every time you have to roll, if it delays like a couple times, that's more chances to roll that one and get that rookie pilot that's going to destroy something. It'll wipe something
Good
out.
good news. The air powers, the airstrikes on the way in. Bad news, he thinks you're it.
So yeah. So my experience with
Wow.
air observers, the very first one is, and I think you might have been playing in that game, is I had a Hellcat, and
I think I
yeah,
was.
so I rolled the rookie pilot, and of course he targeted my Hellcat and killed it.
And I think I laughed maniacally. I was
Yeah,
like,
and then
yes, yes.
the next time,
Because I was sweating bullets.
the next time I was in a tournament, I was playing against a player who brought American, he brought air observer. Of course, you get two,
Right.
right? So the first airstrike, I shot it down with flak. The second airstrike hit one of his own infantry units because he didn't have
Oh,
any tanks, and it wiped out a whole squad of infantry, veteran airborne. Um,
oh man.
so, yeah, air observer's not
His
too
game
good.
was over.
It really
Wow.
was. That my Gurkhas literally tabled that one too.
Wow.
They had no tanks; it was all infantry. So that was like a perfect meat grinder for my Gurkhas.
They're like, bring on the Curie Curie.
They were
Wow.
veteran. They were veterans, So you got to be careful when you assault veteran troops. But still, when they're swinging
Yeah.
half back, you're going to win every time.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I have found overall in tactical games, whether it's squad leader, Panzer Blitz, I think you've got a guarantee. The air is guaranteed. Flames of War, bolt action. It's a random chance. You pay a lot of points for air power, and then it's a random chance. And if you can't see my shirt real close, Bad Dice Baker, right? So yeah, the less dice I have to roll for things to happen, usually the better off I am. So again, free stuff going away, I think is going to be good and help kind of by putting everything in equal number of points. We're now going to be looking at combat points across the board, and
Yeah,
that's going to help a lot. Because to be honest, a German officer team getting free assault rifles is not the same as an American officer team getting submachine guns.
No,
Assault rifles will win every day.
that
Yeah,
range will just eat you up. 18
yeah,
inches. Yeah.
yeah. I went from a 3 to a 2-man assault rifle team, and they were still nasty because there's two guys rolling 4 dice, and
Yeah.
they're a small team, and they're vet. I always take veteran officers, so yeah, they're going to cause you a lot of trouble. So that's good. Uh, so down,
Yep. Vehicle.
and I recently just learned how down should work in second edition. I think you taught me that. Like, no, Michael, your tank gets to back up. I'm like, what?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, some changes in down and how it's going to work. Or actually, I think they just kind of cleaned up how it works. Tell us about it, Randy.
Yeah. So one of the big differences is the main difference is you have to have a visible opponent in your forward or a visible opponent. I believe that's what they're calling it. So otherwise, if there's nobody that they can see, they just go down and stay where they are.
Yep.
Um, but if there is a visible opponent, then they have to make a reverse move um, before going down.
Yep.
And before you weren't allowed to make a turn backing up, but now it's saying that if for some reason there's blocking terrain or intervening troops or something that prevents the tank from backing up or the vehicle, it has to make a turn and it has to back up and go around them.
Right.
So that's something new. Something you wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to do if you were just making a normal move. If you were just backing up, you can't make a turn with a tracked
Mm.
vehicle, but you'll be forced to do it. And then the other problem is if you're close to the table edge and you make that 4.5 inch move back, um, you're going off the table and you're done.
Yeah. I saw that. And I
And
know. The guys that run the big tanks with the big guns, they tend to want to lay them back, and
so one of my
even the medium tanks. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So one of the things I like to do because the German Panther and the Tiger II are very expensive, but you can bring them at low fuel and it cuts the cost down. But you don't want to move them because every time you move them, there's a chance you can run out of fuel. So park them at the edge of the board in cover at long range and just use that super heavy anti-tank gun and just plink away. You can't do that now because if you get a pin and then you have to take an order test, guess what? Dink, that 500 point tank is off the board.
So I wonder how that would work if it was out of gas. But I guess it would be treated as immobilized then,
So yeah, it'd
and it
be
would just go
immobilized,
down.
which would be a good thing. You would want to run out of fuel in that case. So what I thought about is, okay, so I'm going to move up a quarter of an inch just to call it a move. So I'll try to run out of fuel, and then I can
Oh
stay
my
where I'm
god.
at on the edge of the board.
Oh my gosh, Randy. Yeah, there will be lots of gaminess and lots of cheese even with these rules, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, wow.
So one thing is when you got lots of cheese, you got lots of wine too.
We'll talk about that when we talk about your last tournament. All right,
uh,
so that's some of the changes. If we've missed something, if you agree, disagree, drop it in the comments. We're all friends here, and we all we're kind of like the blind men describing the elephant. We're all looking at this stuff and looking at it based on our experience and what we've seen and what we think we're going to see. So make leave your comments in the section down below. That'll be fantastic. And if you have not pre-ordered your rule book, or if you want to do a new starter set, now's the time. And Gator Games is taking pre-orders on that at 15% off of MSRP. So there you go. Link to the store will be in the comments below. So our next thing we want to talk about is Randy's Army list and his trip to Moxie Games for their tournament, and it was quite an amount of fun.
yeah, yeah, it was a really good tournament. Kind of a strange format because they have a time constraint, so they only allow 12 order dice to try to get the thing done in time. Matter of fact, we were out of there after 30 minutes after they closed last weekend. But 1,250 points, so it's a lot of points for very few dice.
I think you're probably going to see that going into V3 as well. I think, and I'm speaking as a TO myself. I know the next one we're doing, and we'll talk about that at the end, is no dice cap, but it's kind of the last hurrah for version
Yeah,
2. But the the box of order dice comes with 12 dice.
yeah,
So the intent of the game originally was for you to have about 12 activations. Go through 6 turns. That's 72 activations, and you're done.
yeah. Of course,
Um,
I think they were thinking about 1,000 points at that time.
it was, yeah. The old standard was
Yeah,
about 1,000 points, so we're going to add another 250. But we're also going to add a. I think what people are going to find is that extra 250 points can be eaten up in the how you configure your support platoons.
yeah.
And as a TO, I may keep that 12 dice limit just
That's
so the
going to be
games
tough,
move a lot
though.
faster.
It's going to be tough.
Yep,
It's going to limit how many platoons people can bring, for sure.
right. Maybe not how many, but it'll definitely impact the configuration.
Yeah. Well,
So if you've got
you'll
three
see really
platoons,
thin platoons. There'll be like an officer and a couple units, maybe three per platoon.
right. Yeah, we'll have to play around with it. And it could be that with the streamlined rules, 18 dice plays as fast as 12.
Yeah,
So,
everything they've
uh,
done is to make gameplay faster, fewer
yeah,
rolls, just bang, bang, bang type play. So
yeah,
we'll have to see
yeah.
how it goes.
But this was a version 2 tournament. And
Yep.
man, that Panzer 3 is having a bad day. Panzer 3, yeah, having a bad day.
Yeah. So
Uh,
the other restriction in this tournament was August of '43. Nothing past that.
that's pretty
So
cool.
yeah. So that's why you didn't see any bigger tanks. The Panzer III was kind of the tank for the era. And then my armored car here is a Mark II instead of a Mark III, so it has a 6 pounder instead of a 75 millimeter. Um, but
Okay.
this was my third game here, and I played a German player obviously, and we were both 2-0. And this one was the one that decided the tournament, and this was like turn one. Um,
Oh, oh,
so he had to bring his Panzer
turn
on.
two, turn two. See the D12 up there?
Oh yeah, yeah, my
Turn,
mistake. Yeah, I think we
turn two.
deployed.
That's
That's what.
okay.
Yeah. So he ran this thing up, and I had my armored car hidden, and he just ran it up the street, and so I was able to
Yikes.
swing out with my armored car at the end of the round, and just so I knew that even if I missed, I've got a recce vehicle, and if he shoots at me the next turn, I can just zip out of the way. So there
Good
was no
call.
threat here at all, and I got a good lucky roll, and I popped his tank, which also made a nice
Wow.
roadblock too.
Right, right. Now he can't bring any more vehicles down. Of course,
Yeah,
good cover for infantry. So there you go.
yeah, yeah, and he's got a couple squads coming back behind him, but
Yeah, I
uh,
saw that. That's
yeah,
classic because you can
yeah,
kind of winkle through these buildings here.
yeah. Well, this game was objective, so they had three supply trucks that were positioned down the street, and you had to capture and hold the supply trucks at the end of the game.
Cool.
So yeah,
Would like would like to get a copy of their scenario list. That sounds like they came up with some their own homebrewed scenarios, so that's pretty good.
yeah.
All right. So what are you doing here? What's going on here? I see
Okay,
an
so
your
this
LVT.
this is my first game against Theron. So I really had a lot of fun with this armored car. My LVT was parked in this terrain, and just shooting these guys um, in the ruins up there. And he's got a Sherman way back there, so I wasn't
Right.
wanting to peek out with my armored car yet. And then there's a Stewart over here behind that rock, which is actually a
I see
flame.
that.
It's a Satan. It's a flamethrower Stewart. Um,
Okay.
and what you can't see is over to the left of my armored car, I have a 25 pounder on ambush, daring
Ah,
his Stewart to come out. And he actually did move it out, and I killed it with my 25 pounder. Yeah.
no doubt. Wow.
The
All
one
right.
thing about this game, and here you can see, actually you can see the 25 pounder. Go ahead to that next slide, Mike. So there's my super heavy artillery observer, menacing gun. But you can see the 25 pounder and the dice on the ambush. And the one thing that was interesting about this game is it was a night game. This
Okay.
table was a night scenario. So on a 4, 5, or 6, we had flares where we had normal visibility. Um, and other than that, you can only see 24 inches. So one of the things that really hurt me was way over on the right is a rock outcrop with my mortar spotter. Well, he was more than 24 inches away from everything, so he couldn't do anything most of the game. Yeah, so I had to deploy my artillery observer way forward to be able to see anything. Um, and then he actually, that little clump of infantry right there in the middle, he could see them, and I brought in a pretty devastating barrage on everything there. I had several fives, which with the super heavy, you get a 1 inch HE hit, so it kills like 2 guys whenever it hits, and if it hits a vehicle, unfortunately both his vehicles are so far away I couldn't target them, but if it hit a vehicle, it can do superficial damage to a vehicle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You say it's a 1 inch hit from the super heavy, or is that a 5 is a 1 inch?
Okay, so if you get a 6, it's just like any other. You get hit by a 4 inch template. Um,
Right.
but on a 5, which normally would just be D3 pins, the 5 gives you a near miss, is what they call it. And so it'll be a 1 inch HE to infantry and artillery. And then a vehicle, you'll roll 4, 5, or 6. I think, and it causes superficial damage, and then you got to roll a d6 and half it to see what it does. But I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
So the super heavy wasn't actually a gun on the table. It was just there to remind everybody that, hey, I got big guns to support.
yeah, yeah. So it just looks menacing there.
And I think what may have thrown him off with his flamethrowing Stewart is I noticed that you guys got the turn marker right in the middle of the table there. And I usually
Yeah,
like, and that's for that reason I tend to want to put turn markers off to the side.
yeah. I don't
Don't
know
want
why he
anything.
put that there, but he knew the 25 pounder was on ambush.
Yeah,
He was just
right.
itching to get that flamethrower tank up there where my Gurkhas. They'd already pushed up between these two little outcroppings, and we're
Yeah.
closing in on his Marines in that ruin. Um, and my LBT had
Okay.
been pounding them too. I mean, I was just
Yes.
throwing lead right at them.
And the LVT it's got a 50 cal in the center mount and then 30s on the wings.
So it's got 3 medium machine guns, and then
Okay.
it's got a light autocannon in the center. So that,
That gum.
yeah, so it was just, yeah, it was getting them.
Okay. Wow.
And so I played
All right.
peekaboo with the armored car. At the end of the turn, I would jump out and shoot. And then if he managed to take a shot at me with this, once he pushed his Sherman up, I would just zip back behind my LVT where he couldn't see it.
Wow. Let the LVT take the round. I hear you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I mean, if it kills it, I think I'd already dumped the Gurkhas out at that point. And
Yeah. You don't. Yeah. A
so
smart player doesn't run there even with armored transport. Doesn't run them fully loaded very close to an enemy.
no, no.
And then they do just what you're doing here. You lay back and lay down fire. All right. So what are we looking at here?
All right. So this was round 2, and I was playing a guy that had free French. And
Ah. Okay.
yeah, so this table was very nasty. So every one of those little brown patches you see in the middle is a minefield.
Yuck.
Yeah, and then the trenches are actually recessed into the table. They, even though they're sticking up, they're down in the ground. So
Right.
you can actually drive over them, and you can shoot over them without any penalty. But if you're shooting at somebody in it, then they're dug in. Um,
Hard cover. Yeah.
when so he drew the the we rolled off for sides, and he won, and he got to choose whether he wanted to be attacker or defender. So this was envelopment, not double envelopment, but envelopment. So he picked defender, which means that I have to get my guys in his deployment zone, which
Yeah.
means I got to cross all this open ground. Um, and so it was like, oh my God. Um, but the minefields, even though they looked like they were bad for me, they were actually good, because what it did is it nobody wanted to go in there. So it forced everybody to the wings. And so what I did is, on the left here, you'll see I got about 60% of my army. So he deployed first, and then so I knew where everything was, and he went heavy on his left, which he put both his tanks over there.
Okay.
And then over here he had an artillery piece and a few infantry. So I put like 60% of my army against about 40% of his, and then on the right, my right flank, I just kept a couple squads to hold that side. And I actually made a little
Just to
bit
pin him.
of, I made a feint like I was just going to bull rush him, and then I just went down and just kept going down. And then so my left side here, I've got the LVT with Gurkhas and the armored car and the Bofors truck, and I just obliterated this flank on this side. I just kept pushing up. I kept using up and at them.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though you can see my Gurkhas here in the barbed wire, they had 3 pins, but I would just do up and at him, and I would just keep running towards him until I got within close combat range.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
The only way to deal with Gurkhas is
got,
kill them and carload lots if you can.
yeah, I got like 4 units off the board, believe it or not, which was
I
amazing
believe it.
for the terrain.
Yeah, it is.
Um, he gets 3 points for every unit of mine he kills, and
Okay.
so with everything being veteran and just well defended, I think he only killed one. I think he only killed one of mine.
Wow.
I killed like 8 of his, and then I got
Man.
4 units off the board and a couple of units in his deployment zone.
Well, basically, you overran it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you went 3-0 in this tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Had 29 kills, which is a lot in any game, but considering the fact that there's only 12 order dice limit, that means there's only a maximum of 36 units that I would face in the tournament. So I pretty much took everybody off the board, with the exception of a few. Yeah.
Oh, here's the supply trucks. The same scenario.
Yeah, and this is a couple other players that are playing on this board. And you can see the 3 supply trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea. We'll have to try
Yeah.
it.
See the KV2. The one guy's got a KV2 over there, so obviously he's a Russian player versus German. This is kind of classic matchup, but they're in the desert, so.
Yeah.
I had a time with these buildings. So we had a bit of a contention about the rooftop, because when you're in a building, it's abstract where you're at in the building. So a unit in the building can be anywhere in the building. And
right.
I had my forward observer on top of one of these buildings, and I wanted to move to the other side of it and shoot at a unit. Just put a couple rifle shots down and make a pin, throw a pin on them. And he said I had to pay for movement. And I'm like, well, even though it's the roof, it's still the building. I would have considered it where you can shoot out of any window in the building or in that floor without movement. Yep. But the TO said that because it's the rooftop and it's one of these Middle Eastern buildings, it's different than a floor in the building. So I end up having to pay for movement. There's really nothing in the rules that cover that, so it's kind of like it's up to the TO. So it was fine. Sure. I mean, I was just trying to put a pin out anyway.
Yep.
And I think I ended up.
Now, did you pay for the rifle for your observer? Because I thought a forward observer only had a pistol.
So there's no check box. I think it's equipped as modeled is what it says.
Ah, another one of those.
Yeah, the ones that don't, the sniper's assistant has a pistol and he can't change that. It is what it is. And I think spotters, I don't think spotters get weapons at all. But yeah, the sniper's one that you have to. The assistant has a pistol.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty, good looking board. Has a lot
Yeah.
more cover than I thought it did.
It was tight. Well, RJ, so you can see where I was talking about these buildings earlier. So he drove a truck up against the backside of one of those buildings, and then he wanted to go down an alleyway. And when you pivot a vehicle, you have to pivot on the center, and so it was trying to hit the building. He was so close to it. So when you're
Got
doing
it.
that, you got to really watch how close you are to buildings. I know you want to try to tuck up as much as you can for cover, but you got to be able
Right.
to allow for movement as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's all the guys out there. We had 10 players. Um,
Fantastic.
you can
Where
see
is
that.
Moxie?
So it's in Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at the Stalingrad in the background there. That table
See
was
that.
it was the whole table was ruined from corner to corner, edge to edge. It was all ruined.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
and
now
there was,
were the scenarios by table or were
yeah.
they rolled off?
So every scenario, normally, in a tournament, everybody plays the same scenario for a round, but over here they do scenarios by table. So each table has its own scenario as far as what your objectives are.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I can see that's definitely a different flavor.
yeah, it's it's,
Definitely
it's really
allows the
cool
person
actually.
designing the what's that?
I said it's really cool. It actually adds some flavor to the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't finalized the way, my scenarios yet for our tournament,
Yeah,
but I may give that some serious consideration is doing six. We're going to have up to six tables and I may consider doing a different scenario on each table. That could be pretty interesting.
yeah.
Okay, cool beans. Um, I'm sorry, were you done with that slide?
Yep, yep. We're good with that.
Cool beans. Okay. All right. So now just kind of a parade of armies here. Some of the armies that were there.
Yeah. So
This this
this
fellow
is the
had the Eighth
TO's
Army.
army. This is the TO's army, Desert Rats, Eighth Army.
Okay. Yeah.
Really well painted. I think he did a fantastic job paint, and he did these like really quick. I think he painted
Um.
a whole squad like the night before because he
Yeah.
was
Well,
shorter dudes.
the Allied armies lend themselves to speed painting. Their
Yeah,
kit is very simple, especially the desert armies. And then the Africa Corps on the German side is pretty easy to paint. And I guess your standard German units are, but you
yeah.
get mid to late war with all the camouflage, things get a lot more difficult to paint. But it's a good looking army. I've got some Eighth Army as well, and I was like, wow, I got to get me some more now.
Makes
And
you
he
want to
went with
paint some
just
more up.
what's that?
I said it makes you want to paint
What?
some more up, doesn't it?
Oh heck yeah! And I've got a
Yeah,
couple sprues. And he went with just your classic British Tommy look with the regular tin helmets.
yeah,
Okay. Vermont. I wasn't sure exactly what exactly German force he was modeling, but I did notice if you'll look in the upper left hand corner, this unit had two, and those look like Mark IV H's, unless they're up armored threes. But he had two of them, which was like wow. So he must not have had a lot in terms of infantry because those are
yeah.
not cheap.
If you look at the board, you don't see a lot of infantry either. So this board here, you deployed 12 inches in. So
Okay,
everything's on the table unless they put something in reserve. And
right,
you can tell he doesn't have but maybe 20 infantry, if that. He's put the
right.
bulk of his points in the tanks.
So he would have had to have built two thin platoons and then bring the two tanks, which, in the current rules, that Mark IV's got two machine guns, two medium machine guns, and of course the main gun. So it's going to be good against armor and infantry. It's
Yeah,
going to roll a fair number of dice against infantry, so, 12 dice. So
yeah.
nothing to sneeze at.
Even the main gun, the super heavy, I think it's got maybe a 3-inch template.
It does.
Yeah, so that's
But
going
you're
to
going to
hurt
roll
him.
more dice with that MG. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was really intrigued. This looks more, if I were calling it being modeled, it looks more like a tank section supported by an infantry platoon than an infantry platoon, or maybe an
Hmm.
infantry platoon supported by a tank section. But yeah, that was a really interesting take on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And there's that Stalingrad board that you love so much. Of
Yeah,
course, we
boy.
have the Germans in Stalingrad. That's where they belong.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't play on that one.
Yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah, here we go. My Gurkhas, they've gotten into the trenches here, and you can see there's a Free French Commandos, and I'm about to assault them.
I've wondered about the guys in blue hats. So those
Yeah.
are Free French Commandos, and then now I see floppy hats, but those are Chindits. But you're modeling them as Gurkhas for this game.
Well, those are Gurkhas. The Chindits
Okay,
hats, if you'll notice, the one side is folded up.
got it. That
Gurkhas are
Australian
all
style
flat
bush
brim.
hat.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, fantastic. And I got a couple of views of that. Um, got your guys fighting in the trench here, and then I got them working their way into the trench in the upper right hand corner.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of pictures of your guys, in the general feed there. So I threw the Vickers. Was your Vickers Jeep on the table for that game?
Um, I don't think so. No, it wasn't because 12 dice. I had to pick and choose what I wanted to bring, and
Roger that.
it was just low points. I needed. That's why I brought the heavy armored car, and
Yeah,
yeah,
excellent. Yeah,
I
you'd
couldn't
have
even
been
run
really
it.
hosed. Now I see why you're glad you didn't get that Stalingrad because your armored car would have been useless,
Yeah,
literally.
I mean it'd just been an artillery
Pillbox.
piece.
Right, right. Wow. Great looking, great painted armies. I know again, following their chat, I see that these guys are real serious about putting painted armies on the table, nothing half painted. So
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
you see very
Um,
few units that aren't painted in these guys. They really get to it.
that's a good culture. I wish I could say we always do that. We're going to be doing Blood and Valor tomorrow night, and I think me and Jim Casey both are going to be doing good to have our guys base coated. I think I'm going to be ahead of him. I've got flesh and leather on my guys. I haven't done the rifles yet, but hey, the night's still young, so maybe I'll get to it.
Yeah,
So there you go. Okay, so great again, great looking armies. Thanks, Randy, for sharing that experience.
yeah,
So Moxie Games out of Columbus, Georgia. Looks like they've got a very active bolt action crew. So if you get a chance, hook up with them, play with them. Help them build their community. Okay, and then we got a Soviet Union force here.
yeah.
So how'd they do?
Um, I want to say I'm trying to think. So the Free French guy, I think he came in second or third, and then
Okay,
I think it was a German player that took the other podium position. So I don't think the Soviets did very well.
okay. I see his T-34 burning here. That's never a good
Yeah.
sign.
So he's obviously not doing too well.
Right, right. Okay, but again, well painted, well modeled.
Yeah.
The guy just did a great job with him. All right, so now the third segment of our show, I guess I could say. So far we've covered version 3 rules. We talked about Randy's experience at Moxie, and by the way, Randy, congrats! You went 3-0.
Thanks.
Congrats on winning the tournament there.
Yep.
Good showing for our club. We like that. So Randy is off to another tournament this weekend, Saturday. So this broadcast is being put together August 15th, 2024. And Randy's going to be in Nashcon this coming weekend, the 16th, 17th, 18th, playing in their bolt action tournament. But Randy, you got to get us pictures where it didn't happen. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to tell us about it. So his force is the Nashcon Scary Blighters, and there you go.
Yeah.
So your overall organization, tell us about that first platoon.
Yeah. So basically, it's 1,250 points. They don't have a dice limit, and they're actually letting me bring a land mattress. So in my first platoon, I'm going to have your basic inexperienced second lieutenant. I'm going to have two 10-man squad of Gurkhas.
Two of
Um,
them.
yep. Forward observer. medium mortar with a spotter, sniper team. I think it's regular land mattress, and I've only run this a few times. I'm really beginning to like it. It does quite a job. Unfortunately, most people don't let you bring land mattress for the British. Um, but I got a flamethrower Jeep for my. That's kind of my anti-tank there. Let's see. There's two. Should be two 30 CWT trucks. I don't think I have three. I think there's two, and they're
Just two? Okay,
yeah, and they're basically to move my 10-man squads up into the
got
act,
it.
and then a
Got it.
Stewart.
Cool beans. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's your first platoon. So
yeah,
guys, just if you've never thought about it, when we're building these platoons, and it, we'll bolt action will say it's a platoon level game, but by the time you finish building a force out, you are really the better part of a company, and that's why I
yeah,
call this Randy as a tournament company.
yeah,
So got your second platoon there. So basically, you're running a short company.
yeah. So these Gurkhas, I think they're going to be 8-man squads.
Yeah,
Um,
they're smaller.
just didn't have the points. I've got a veteran Fiat.
Oh,
Yeah, light artillery, 25 pounder, horse drawn limber, just basically to put a dice in the bag. There's
I think
the
I got a.
Recce Jeep. I got the Recce Jeep
Go
in
ahead.
this one. I got a Jeep to
So,
transport the Piat
how
team.
were the British able to get a horse? Well, we can talk about that when we talk about the
They can
platoon.
actually get a mule
So,
team too.
oh my gosh,
Yeah,
wow! And we see Jeep,
yeah.
and then a Jeep transport. Go
Transport.
ahead.
Yeah, for the Piat to get it because it only has 12
Yep.
inch range, so you have to run it in a Jeep.
Right.
And then I got a Bofors AA truck. So I have 20 dice here.
Not a lot of heavy anti-tank though. You'll struggle if somebody's got some decent armor.
Yeah,
And
so that was the Piat team's veteran because I know it's going to be have to get close and it's probably going to have to survive a machine gun blast from a tank to make sure it does kill a tank. And then I'm
right.
going to use the flamethrower Jeep to try to kill tanks. I'm not going to try to run it at infantry because that's kind of dangerous. Um, and I mean, the Stewart has an anti tank gun, which is not great, but the 25 pounder is going to also be my anti tank. Uh,
Yeah. And that Bofors AA definitely can deal with light armor.
yeah. So I've
All right.
uh,
So let's.
I've actually been practicing this list with online against Bo Mortensen, and
Okay.
just try to get a feel for how and it's working really good so far. I really like it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So now let's look at the breakdown of the different platoons. So first platoon core units,
Yep.
second lieutenant, and then there's your 2 10-man Gurkha squads.
All rifles.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, just pretty plain vanilla there.
Rifles and
But
knives for Gurkhas.
yeah, rifles and knives. What else do Gurkhas need, right?
They don't need the
So there you
rifle.
go.
Matter of fact, they were known for throwing their rifle down when they got into close combat and just fighting with their knife.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
The old
That
saying, bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, they actually win.
nice. So next one here, first platoon support,
Yeah.
forward observer.
Forward observer, medium mortar with a spotter, and I can't remember if the sniper team's veteran or not, but that's really
Right.
there to protect my mortar and my land mattress and stuff from other snipers.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, counter sniper makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, you see, I found a good picture there of a land mattress being
Oh
loaded.
yeah. So
How
this isn't.
common? How common was that weapon in the British Army?
It was really actually well the Canadians used it more than anything, but it was actually quite.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So I've been working on this. I've got to get it ready for Nashcon by tomorrow morning. But there's my land mattress. It's a shame
That
that
looks
your
good.
picture's not. Whoops, is not color. But I had a couple color pictures that I've been using to try to get the color schemes right on it.
Right, right. Fantastic. I did not put that picture. You sent it to me late, so I didn't get it here. But I
Yeah.
will download it and put it on the Gator Games website so you guys can see it there. Um, and then of course the DACA Stewart, which is of course going to be nerfed in version 3,
Yeah.
much to the relief of all of us that have been
So
downrange of
yeah. So
model machine
my
gun.
thoughts on the Stewart is it's not going to be as bad as you think, because as long as it doesn't go up in price, if it stays the same, the machine guns are going to get nerfed, but the AT gun is going to get a big boost, because now you have a +4 gun that's not going to suffer long range. The pin's not going to go down, and it's going to get a +1 to hit because it's a tank shooting at another tank or another vehicle. So that little light AT guns was useless in version 2 is going to actually be useful in version 3. So,
Interesting,
so for the
especially against
point,
other light units.
oh yeah, and then you still got the
Where the,
machine guns. You don't get as many shots, but still you're going to get like 12, and then if you throw a coax or a pintle up there, you're going to get 15 shots.
I wonder if
And
you're still going to be crew exposed if you use that pintle.
I'm sure that's not going to
Yeah,
change. Yeah.
yeah. We need
Eh,
to make some markers for that because people forget, and it really should. You really should note that when your guys outside the tank.
Yep.
So cool beans. Okay.
You know what would work really well is if you had uh, a tank crew model, and then you just
Yep.
like set him out on top of the tank. Because
Yeah.
usually when they're firing that pintle, you really can't do it from the hatch. They would stand out on the back of the tank and grab that gun and fire it.
Really.
Because if you look at the way it's in order to fire it, you'd be shooting backwards if you were in the hatch. So they would get out behind it and stand on the tank, and then they would shoot the gun forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool beans. Wow. That would be a cool model too.
Oh yeah, that would just look cool.
And you can get tank crew models now.
Hmm.
Um, so that might be something to think about. What you would do probably is put maybe a small piece of metal on the back of the tank, and then magnetize the foot
Magnetize the base.
the bait yeah, of
You
the
could use a
crewman.
metal washer for his base, and then just think.
Yep, yep. What I'll probably do is just grab a few of my here it comes again squad leader crew exposed markers and just throw them in there, and that way
Yeah,
people can see the marker on top of the tank.
you've got a few of those, don't you?
I got a couple. I've got the first 3 games in the squad leader series, and then I have all 5 of the ASL starter kits, and or maybe 4. It's 4 starter kits, and then I've got Beyond Valor and Yanks. So yeah, I've got a few. I've got a few counters.
Yeah.
Okay, second platoon core units.
Yeah.
8 man squads. So
Yep.
there you go. Don't know what
Okay.
that white highlight is on my text. I didn't catch that when I was running through this thing.
Yeah. So
But there you go. Basically, what's that?
most guys will run 8-man squads of Gurkhas. The guys that
Right.
run Gurkhas, because that's kind of a ideal size for assaulting. Um,
Okay.
I like to run 10 for several reasons. One, I know I can get at least 2, maybe 3 assaults out of them. If
Right.
and they're also get to re-roll um, an order test before if they haven't lost a casualty. So even if they fail an order test, I can re-roll it, like getting out of the truck. So say they're in the truck and they shoot at it and they put a couple pins on it.
Yeah.
Now, to get them out of the truck, they're 10 morale down
8
to
or less.
8, but I get to re-roll it. So good chance I'm going to
Yep.
get them out of the truck anyway.
Now, if you've got an officer nearby, they get a +1, so that pushes them to a 9.
They have to be in the truck.
They got to be in the
So,
truck. Okay.
yeah, so an officer confers a bonus on the ground to troops on the ground, and in
Okay.
the truck only to troops in the truck.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to relearn with version 3.
Yeah, they can throw everything out the window just about.
Pretty much. And y'all keep watching, because as we get closer to version 3, I'm going to have an instruction, kind of an instruction module idea that I'm going to share with everybody, that I think is a really superior way to kind of learn either a new game or relearn. And basically we're going to be relearning both actions. So
Yeah.
keep checking in with the channel. We'll certainly announce it before we drop it, but I think it'll be worth looking at. Second platoon support.
Yep.
There's your Happy Piat team. Go ahead.
Yep. So yeah. So like I say, it's 12-inch range, so I'm bringing it veteran because I know I'm going to have to probably survive being in front of a tank.
You
Um,
bet.
or a sniper shot. If
Yep.
sniper's going to take that team out anyway, but he still has to roll a 5 to kill it, so that's
I was
better
gonna
than
say it's a 5+ to kill.
yeah.
So
So
3
better
plus to hit, 5
than
plus
staying
to kill.
alive.
So
Yep.
yeah.
And the light howitzer. So kind of the
Yep.
way I I've kind of ignored tanks when I bring a list that doesn't, because my Gurkhas are designed to kill infantry and other units, and
Right.
I just kind of leave the tanks alone if I don't. The Piat team's going to be there to threaten. I don't even really have to go after the tank. I can just kind of use it to hedge the tank away from where I don't want him, and then I can put the howitzer on ambush and kind of lock down an area there.
Yeah.
And really the Bofors truck, I think I brought it veteran. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
the thought there is outflanking. And I actually did that in the Moxie tournament. I outflanked in the third game in the other Panzer III. I came in from behind him and shot at him
3.
from behind with so with an 8 armor with a +3 penetration, hitting him from the side or the rear, that can absolutely kill that tank.
Right, because you're
Unfortunately,
gonna go up to +4. Is it +1 on the side and then +2 on the rear, right?
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So if you're getting a dead rear shot, you're now a +5, and his armor's 8.
Yeah, so you only need a
So
3
on a,
for damage.
right. Yeah. That's
Unfortunately,
gonna
I
be
rolled a 2
superficial.
and a 3.
Hey, sounds like me, man. You want to borrow my
So I
shirt?
missed him. But then at that point the game was about over. But that would have been icing on the cake if I could have took out the other German tank in the list.
Oh yeah, because that would have been 30 kills, and why not, right? So the other thing I was gonna gig you about, though, this horse-drawn limber,
hmm
um, it's in the British list,
Yeah, it's generic reinforced. Now I don't think the mule team is. I think the mule team is a theater selector, but the
right?
horse-drawn limber is a generic reinforced
And
platoon.
I didn't think to look it up, but I didn't think the British used horse-drawn artillery at all in World War II.
They
So
probably didn't much. So it's 8 points. So it's
right,
basically a cheap dice. I was trying to build my dice count up so that
sure, you always do.
sure. Well, yeah, and with Gurkhas, you want to be the first dice out of the bag every round so that you can
Yep,
carry out that assault before they react.
yeah,
And so that helped it. Otherwise, I would have brought a quad tractor, which is a little more survivable than the horse limber.
right, right. So yeah, I was looking at that horse limber, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I
Yeah,
guess, if as we're saying this game, there's going to be things sometimes that are, maybe they push the limits of historicity. Um, and different people's experience are different. Um, the BEF certainly wouldn't have had horse-drawn limbers. As a matter of fact, I want to say the BEF in 40 was fully motorized.
yeah.
And then where you might have seen horse-drawn limbers maybe would have been in North Africa, or of course the Home Guard. I couldn't even find a World War II horse-drawn limber for the British. Found them for the
So,
Poles,
so
and I
I
found
would
them
say
for
that,
World War One.
yeah, I would say North Africa, absolutely not. Because if you think about the horses do not do well in the desert. That's why they had camels.
Yeah,
So maybe they had camels drawing artillery there. I don't know.
camels aren't draft animals. They don't like them at
They
all.
really don't, they're not strong enough, are they?
Um, maybe so.
They
But
got
yeah,
like,
so the horse-drawn limber is probably the only thing on your list that I'm looking at going, okay, now we're munchkin it. Yeah, look at him laugh. He knows,
a little bit
That's
of
all right.
cheese.
Hey, but again, you play the game as it's written. And now, and some guys now they will stick with a historical list,
Yeah.
and sometimes that hurts you, sometimes that helps you. It just all bolt action's your game. Play it how you like. And I know for me, in both Flames and Bolt Action, Flames of War and Bolt Action, I tend to stick with as close to a historical list as I can. Um, but then I don't play a lot of tournaments either. I'm usually playing casual play or scenario play. But congrats on the list. It won for you. So there you go. What'd you win for winning? What'd you get for winning, by the way?
So I got a gift certificate for first place at the
Cool.
store, and then I got another
Yep.
gift certificate for the most kills.
Ah, so what'd you get?
I hadn't bought anything yet. I forgot my gift card from the last tournament I was there. I think I got second or third. And had I brought it, I'm going to get. They got a ton of games there, and I was
Yes.
looking at Crisis Protocol, the Marvel, with the
Okay.
Avengers game, and
Yep.
they got it on sale for $89, and
Okay.
I was going to get it. If had I had the other gift card, I would have went ahead and got it. But with me going to Nashcon this weekend, I was like, well, I'll just wait. The next time I go there,
That's
I'll
right.
go and pick it up. And
Good for you.
but yeah, I've played that before, and that's a really fun game. It really
It
is,
is. Yeah. But definitely good on on the quirky side. So
especially
I will
somebody
be
who's a superhero fan. You
do
know,
what?
I'm a big superhero fan. I love the Avengers movies, and you
I
know,
will have to let you know next time Christian or Wayne is putting on the Batman game because they play that pretty regular here, and you would probably enjoy that.
wow,
Fantastic. So so coming into next weekend, August 24th,
yeah,
we're going to be putting on our own tournament, and Randy and I pool our resources, and we build 6 tables. Each one has a different theme to it,
yeah,
and lots of folks have complimented it, the work we do on terrain. Savannah Garrison Pulaski's Guard Summer 2024 Bolt Action Tournament, and this is actually the second year that we've been running that. So it's going to be at a live church in Pooler, Georgia. Don't worry, you won't burst into flame when you enter the church because it's actually in the fellowship hall. So there you go. We're going to
yeah,
start about 10 o'clock, run until about 8. Rounds will be about I think 2.5 hours, 2.25, and 15 minutes in between rounds, and 45 minutes for lunch. A lot of a really deep prize pool. Everybody will probably walk away with something. I'm sure everyone will at least get a German or American sprue, your choice. So it's definitely worth the trip to the great city of Pooler to come see the Pulaski's Guard HMGS crew that kind of backfills here what we do here at Gator Games. Gator Games is sponsored, so is Tina's Tiny Tanks, War Games Atlantic, and Warlord Games. So a lot of good prize support coming in, and going to be a lot of fun. When folks come, they usually have a really good time. Ideally, I won't be playing as a TO. I usually prefer just a TO and let you guys run roughshod and have a good time. We got room for 12, and currently I think we're up to either 4 or 6 firm slots, but we're a week out. So y'all come on, be a good chance to practice for the other tournaments that are coming up. I know Callista's running one in October, and then we've got another one in September at Huracan. So there's
yeah,
still a lot of tournaments coming up. So this is a good chance to kind of bring that list. We tend to run a little more casual format in that if you're a new player, or a learning player, we're pretty patient with folks. Like Randy was saying earlier, it's not uncommon for players to coach newer, younger, or people getting in. Do we want to win? Sure, we do, but mostly we want to have a lot of fun. We like to say you come for the games and you stay for the community. And here in Savannah, we've got a pretty good community. We come together pretty well. So next weekend, you can find this on Facebook, or you can email me at the email address below. Happy to get you the information on that. I'll have both the Gator Games and Pulaski Guard email that you can email and get more details on the tournament. It's 1,250 points, no
yeah,
dice limit, no army list limit. It's gonna be a fur ball, but it's
yeah.
one of the
So
last version 2 tournaments, and we want everybody to have fun. What's that, Randy?
yeah, so you'll be able to bring any kind of theater units, stuff that you wouldn't normally get to run, and I will not be running Gurkhas. I'll be bringing my SAS troops, so nobody has to fear the Gurkhas here. I don't think anybody else has Gurkhas that'll be coming. So
Just fear the stats.
yeah, yeah. So I've never got to really play them because they're so expensive. Um, but I'm gonna run them here just to have a fun before version 3. Yeah,
I
and the
like it.
tables, I will say the tables here will rival any tables in the country. I think they're that good what we put out there.
I mean, and it's not. We've gotten that level of compliments from people that have come to play with us. Um, Randy, if you, I think I don't know if you've done this, but I saw where you put a photo spread in one of the chats. You
Yep, I
might put
did.
that up under the discussion for the Facebook event, and
Yeah.
that way people can kind of see what they're looking at. That would be good. But man, we'd love to have y'all. We always like to host folks, meet new folks. I've got a couple of people that are coming just to watch. They're learning bolt action. Got a new guy coming. He has not quite 1250, so he's probably going to borrow some of my British, which means if I play, I'm going to be running my Germans, and I have
I
a
was gonna
pretty. I
say
can usually put together.
I've got a butt ton
Go ahead.
of other armies, so if anybody wants to run some, just let me know. I'll be happy to loan them to you and let you play them. I've got
I'll
American,
probably.
British. I've got enough extra British that, of course, I won't let you play my Gurkhas, but I've got some other regulars. I got commandos and stuff like that I can
Yeah.
put out there. They're pretty good too.
If I run Jerry's, I'll probably run that mechanized platoon I've been dinking around with just because it's fun. Half tracks, regular infantry, Puma armored car. Basically, it's a recon platoon, and it's
Yeah.
always a fun one to run. So again, next Saturday, be here, be square. If you stayed with us this long, thank you so much. Hope you like what you've heard. If you got ideas of things you'd like to see on the channel, again, throw it in the comments below. Do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, share with your game groups, share with your friends. We want to be a source of hobby news. Just a couple of regular guys that play bolt action and a few other games as well. And Randy, of course, is a regular guest, and we've had Tom Chapman from War Games Atlantic has been on. John Russell from Warlord Games. So we are definitely trying to reach out and bring people in to keep you up to date on hobby news and maybe inspire and give you ideas for your hobby. So with all that,
Yeah. So if you
I
want to
think
play in
go
this,
ahead.
hurry up and send your list to Mike so we know you're coming. I know
Yes,
some guys
please.
like to wait till the last minute but we really need to at least 48 hours or better. We need to know that you're coming and we need a list from you.
Yeah, we need those lists by about Wednesday of this coming week.
Yeah.
And we're asking people to use Easy Army to develop the list, and ideally have either Easy Army or have cards for all your vehicles to so that we can kind of review those, and your opponents can review them and know what they're looking at. All right. So with all that, Randy, anything else for the folks?
Well, that's can't wait for next week's intel drop.
Yeah. Intel drop, and we'll also be recapping our tournament. So more pictures of very cool boards and very cool painted figures. And who knows, Randy may be putting another champion's ring on his finger. Who knows?
I hope
All
so.
right, guys. Go ahead.
I said I hope so. I've won. I haven't won any of the I call the majors, which would be like Huracan or Warzone. Um, so hopefully I can get one here before version 2 ends up. You know, I think I've won about 6, maybe 7 tournaments, um, but I want one of the big ones. I'd really like to win Warzone. That's kind of like the golden egg
Yeah,
if I could win
yeah.
Warzone.
John Ross puts that on. It's a
Yeah,
national tournament. It's yeah, and we'll be talking about Warzone. Probably have John Ross as a guest when we get a little closer to that because that's just a fantastic event,
it
and he
is.
does a first class job of putting on the bolt action tournament there. All right. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap us up, guys. Again, thanks for your time, and may your dice always be sixes.
Yay.
Good night.